Descartes carries out his project of hyperbolic doubt in the first meditation. So let's take a look now at the Cartesian demolition project and see how he does it. As we said, he doesn't do it by trying to attack the supposed edifice of knowledge that he presently has from the top down, dismantling the building one brick at a time until he gets down to the ground. He doesn't try to list all of his individual beliefs and then call them successively into doubt. Rather, he does it in a more systematic fashion. He calls his beliefs into doubt, the things that he thought as are true, by grouping together different types of beliefs on the basis of where he acquired those beliefs, what the source of those beliefs is. And he divides this in the meditation basically into 4 different parts. There are 4 mini arguments that allow him to attack his previously held beliefs. One of them doesn't count, so it's actually 3 steps, as we'll see. The first one seems to be an easy target. These are the beliefs that he holds based upon sensory perception. For, as Descartes notes, a very familiar experience, we can discover that we're mistaken in our sensory perceptions. Optical illusions are familiar to everyone, and of course there's the phenomenon of seeing something at a distance or hearing something from afar, not being able to quite make it out, mistaking it for one thing, and then upon closer inspection discovering that it's something else. From now we think that that's a little bit more uncertain than things that we see close up, but Descartes derives from that point the fact that it's possible to be mistaken about the things that we see with our own eyes, hear with our own ears. Sometimes, theoretically, we could be mistaken about those things at all times. Okay? Maybe the world is not what we see and hear. Maybe things aren't just the way that we see them. So this first step in his doubt calls into doubt the things that we see around us in the world outside of us. Maybe they are different than they actually appear to us, and we're incorrect about them. Perhaps what appears straight is in fact crooked, what appears round is in fact square, or the other way around. So this seems to call into doubt a whole class of beliefs. Anything, basically, any kind of proposition that we could ground on sensory perception, something that we discern through our experience, either what we see or hear or smell or discover through one of the other senses, where we take evidence from the world around us through one of the senses. Descartes' next thought experiment is an especially interesting one, both for what it does and what it doesn't do, and what he does with it. This is to entertain the possibility that he, Descartes, conducting these thought experiments is in fact insane. Perhaps he is like those people whose minds are possessed, warped by a black bile, who believes that they are kings when they dressed in robes when they are in fact naked, whose heads are made of glass, or some other insane fantasies. And then Descartes rejects that. He says he would himself be crazy to compare himself to crazy people, and he moves on. Now this is interesting because if Descartes were indeed looking for a device to cast doubt upon everything that he believes to be true, this seems it would be an excellent way to do it, after all, right? If he entertains the possibility that he's insane, and after all, people whose minds are not working quite right often are completely unaware of their own condition, right? So if he should entertain the idea that perhaps his mind is not working properly at all and he is insane, then this indeed would be a thought experiment by which he could easily call into doubt everything that he believes to be true. It might all be false. Perhaps everything that he thinks is totally distorted. This would accomplish his task, it seems. But then he casts that aside. He's not going to go that route. Notice this would level everything with one argument, So we don't in fact have the differentiation of different types of beliefs resting on different sources of knowledge, as we do through the arguments that he's actually going to take seriously in constructing the hyperbolic doubt. Also, it would destroy his entire project. It would make him unable to carry on and reconstruct anything to build a new building after he finished tearing down the one he's trying to get rid of right now. If he calls his reason itself into doubt, then his reason is just as faulty as far as he can tell when he's trying to reconstruct a new building of knowledge on more sure and certain foundations than he's had hitherto. So the insanity argument is rejected. After this, Descartes comes to a famous dream argument. And he notes initially in the transition how dreams might themselves be like the state of mind of someone insane. But then he drops that too. He's not interested in the dreams that might be crazy, that might be absurd, where you're one place and then suddenly you appear in someplace else, you open a door and you're in a different city, strange things happen. He's actually interested in the dreams that are just like waking experience. Everyone's had the occasion of having a dream. Usually it's when you're about to wake up. Maybe the alarm clock goes off. You get up, you switch off the alarm clock, you go to the bathroom, you start brushing your teeth, and then you wake up and you're in bed. So everybody's had these kind of waking dreams before. So dreams can at times so resemble waking life that at the time that we are dreaming, we are unaware that it's a dream. We might even mistake it and think that it's actually going on until we wake up. If that's the case, Descartes asks, how do I not know that I am dreaming right now? It could be that everything that I believe to be true about the world around me is in fact a dream. And Descartes illustrates this with a particular example. Right? I might be holding a piece of paper in my hand, holding my book right before my face. How could I doubt that it's really there? But of course it's possible to see that just as clearly in a dream when my hand is resting at my side, no book in it. So no book, no hand, but I could dream it all. And what Descartes uses this to do is to draw a sharp distinction between the world of what's going on in thoughts and images inside the mind and the physical world outside around us. If I can dream that I have a hand in front of my eyes when it's not there, then maybe my image of my hand is just that. Maybe there is no hand, maybe there are no eyes, maybe all there are these images and thoughts that are going on in my mind. So if Descartes calls doubt on sensory experience, on things that we believe to be true based upon what we see and hear, that casts doubt upon the world around us. Maybe the world is other than it appears to us, but it's still there. The dream argument allows Descartes to ask whether the world's even there at all, whether the external world is there at all. This is the basis of his distinguishing between mind and body. Right? Maybe the external physical world doesn't exist. Maybe all there is minds and minds alone. This is what Kant called Descartes' problematic idealism. Maybe the physical world isn't real. The final step in his project of hyperbolic doubt of the first meditation is to call into doubt something else. And here Descartes says something that might strike you as odd. Descartes says, even if I am dreaming, even if this world isn't real, and everything I think is a dream, I can't possibly dream that 2 + 2 = 5, rather than 4. This I cannot dream. Now, we might wonder whether Descartes is right about that or not. Right? Is it indeed not possible? We can dream some pretty crazy things. Why can't we dream that 2 plus 2 equals 5? Might be a radical new discovery and insight that you make in your dreams sometimes. But that's not important. Okay? We don't need to worry about whether Descartes' right about that. It's important to look and see what he's trying to do. What's special about statements like 2 plus 2 equals 4 for Descartes is this is something that I can entertain, analyze, understand, know to be true just by the use of my reason alone. I don't need to count out 2 things, then count out 2 more things, and then add them up into 5 things in the world outside of me with physical objects in order for that to be true. I can know that just by reasoning. So there are matters of truth and falsity that are matters that depend just upon logic and reasoning. As long as I have a mind that thinks and can think clearly, I can understand those things, even if all I am is that mind, and I don't have a body, and there is no physical world. And so Descartes is called into doubt here. First, the external physical world that we sense through our 5 senses. Is that world as it appears to us to be? Maybe what we think is true about it is in fact false. Maybe that external world is very different than it seems to us. And then the second step, how do we know that that world is there at all? Mind and body are different. Maybe all that exists is my mind, and bodies don't exist at all. They are nothing else than images in the mind. And then third, maybe the things that I believe to be true that rest just on my mind alone and don't require any input from the senses, the things that I can know to be true just on the grounds of reason and logic, maybe those too could be false. How might they be false? Well, for this, Descartes envisions the idea of what he calls an evil deceiver, some godlike entity, all-powerful, who's able to interfere with our thought processes. And so maybe it's the case that 2 plus 2 really does equal 5. However, the evil deceiver, every time we entertain this simple sum of 2 plus 2, and we perform this simple calculation in our minds, the evil deceiver zaps us, interferes with that thought, and causes us to come up with the wrong conclusion. And maybe he does that systematically so that we all come up with the wrong conclusions, but agree with one another. So here too, maybe these things, these truths that depend only upon my reasoning ability are wrong because the evil deceiver is interfering with that calculation. Notice he's considering this as a calculation process. We all know that we can, say, make a mistake when trying to do long division or some more complicated calculation. Descartes suggesting here, maybe even on the simplest ones, some powerful being, right? It's logically possible I could imagine some powerful being interfering with my thoughts and making me make mistakes. Notice how this is different from the insanity argument. It says here that there's not anything fundamentally wrong with my intellect or my reasoning. It's just that it is being interfered with somehow. Something is causing me to make mistakes in it, even though in principle it's basically sound. I just can't keep track of getting from my premises to my conclusions properly. And so with this step, he is now called into doubt also the things that he believes to be true, that he doesn't attribute to any conclusions drawn out of experience of the world around us, or it doesn't even depend upon the existence of that external world outside of the mind, but things he believes to be true dependent upon reason alone. And here he concludes his hyperbolic doubt. In Meditation 2, we'll go on to see what, if anything, Descartes thinks can be known for certain and that cannot be doubted no matter what.